You only need to know me. I will be the one.
So I want to start out the video by saying I think Oda is positioning Sanji to become one of the fastest, if not the fastest character in One Piece, especially after what we saw from Sanji recently in his fight against Queen. Right now I'd say Sanji is maybe top 10. Maybe I'm playing it too safe and Sanji is actually top 5 with a few other characters up there with him. I don't know if we want to include Blitz speed in this ranking because we'd have to include Zoro as well. For example, the speed of his Lion Song, and then there's Kaido's Thunder Bagua, and other Blitz type characters. But if we do include Blitz speed, the fastest man is still determined by continuous movement, I guess, for an extended period of time. Given that, Sanji's fight with Queen suggests by the end of the story he could be top 3 or the fastest man alive. Akin to the epithet of the world's strongest swordsman or the world's strongest man or creature, Sanji would then be the world's fastest man, a title that could currently belong to someone else, maybe Kizaru. But since Zoro wants such a title for himself by becoming a sword god and defeating Mihawk, while Sanji's dream isn't one requiring strength per se, it'd be nice given his rivalry with Zoro if he obtained a similar unofficial rank or status by the end of the story, even if we readers are the only ones to determine this subjectively, whatever the objective in-story evidence of Sanji's speed compared to other characters might say. Now, as we begin to consider some of Sanji's speed feats, let me begin by saying I doubt Oda will turn him into the Flash from DC Comics. Sanji's not going to be that fast. But let's look over some of his fastest moments to determine just how fast he has been and where this might all be going. I want to give a shout out and acknowledge Dengeki Vinsmoke on Twitter, and you can see his Twitter here, so go give him a follow because he made this thread covering all of Sanji's speed feats in the story. The first part of this video comes from him, and the second part, or intertangled with it, are some of my own ideas. But let's break down all of Sanji's speed feats. Maybe a few are missing, and you can mention them in the comments if you want, if anything comes to mind. First, the Fishman Kurobi was blindsided and speed blitzed by Sanji, as in he didn't see Sanji's kick coming, and in this panel you can see it is reminiscent of Kizaru when he kicked X-Drake on Sabaody Island. A unique kick whose similarity to Kizaru's shouldn't be overlooked. Now, for speed feat number 2, Sanji's reaction speed is on display as he dodges a gunshot from Mont-Blanc cricket at point-blank range. A common feat by Sanji that Oda displays time and again during Whole Cake Island, but understand that Whole Cake hints at a personal theory of mine about how powerful Sanji can or will be when combining his overwhelming speed with his unique disposition of Haki, observation or Kenbun Shoku. Now, for speed feat number 3, Dengeki Vinsmoke makes a good point when he asks, what's so impressive about Sanji dodging a kick? Anyone can do that. Well, Sanji in this scene, as you can see, didn't just dodge an attack, he at the very same time in the blink of an eye kicked his opponent 12 times. The character Wanze has been revealed to have hinted at some future abilities of Sanji's too. You can see the curly eyebrow on Wanze's face, so it's clear Oda did this deliberately. The fire skate attack foreshadowed Sanji's Diable Jambe, I guess. The shirt of Wanze's back is a reference to the mad scientific research team that Queen, Judge, Caesar, and Vegapunk belong to. One could make an argument that this fight also hints at Sanji being able to kick people in the future at speeds unseen, as in so fast you'd think he was moving at light speed, kicking before you'd even know it, even if you have observation Haki. Now, this next speed feat is easy to overlook because the fight was largely a gag, but it's against the Cypherpole agent Khalifa. Sanji displays how he is capable of even speed blitzing a Rokushiki user just like Gear 2nd overwhelmed Balluna when Luffy used it. Oda doesn't emphasize Sanji's strength or raw power per se, but instead Sanji's speed, as Khalifa says, he's so fast. Shocked a human, a non-Rokushiki user could move like that. Against Absalom, another individual that could turn invisible just like Queen, Sanji's ability to speed blitz is very impressive. Notice how Oda depicts Sanji's speed relative to his interruption of Absalom's speech about not having time to waste on small fry. In the context of time, Sanji's speed blitzes Absalom in between the words as and you, as you can see in the panel, with a kick to the face. Next, another panel shows us how Sanji manages to outpace the firing speed of Absalom's bazookas in such a way that it almost seems like Sanji used teleportation, even if he didn't. Sanji's keen eye and ability in this moment to discern the trap of the explosives on Absalom's arms that lay in wait, hinting again at the combination of high speed and observation. Next, Dengeki from Twitter describes how Sanji pre-time skip was heavily portrayed as a fighter with immense speed. Moving into the post-time skip era, Sanji spends 2 years fighting and running from Okamas, which serves as a form of training for him. His legs and coincidentally his overall fire abilities, which still need explanation but are activated via emotion to some extent. Sanji describes running like the wind, until one day he could fly. And perhaps given what we've seen from his fight with Queen, Sanji can now run faster than the speed of sound, approaching but not yet reaching speeds of light, maybe. Now underwater, Usopp takes notice of how fast Sanji can move despite not being on land, and water serving as a barrier or impediment to his usual movement. Usopp says Sanji is moving as fast as a fishman can swim. All that training from Sanji, running all those years on that island during the time skip, he can now use a move called Blue Walk to dash through the water. And I found this next example to be interesting because it analyzes the Sanji-Virgo fight in the context of Virgo being someone that appears to have his own exoskeleton given how durable his body is even before using full body arm in Haki. And also how Virgo is able to speed blitz Trafalgar Law's Shambles teleportation ability, something not easy to do against the Ope Ope Nomi, I think. In Dressrosa, we saw Sanji was able to spot a sniper far off in the distance from the ground. Before a shot could be fired, he was already speed blitzing the sniper, which again ties into my speculation about Oda combining Sanji's awakened speed abilities from Onigashima in the future with a new level of observation Haki, maybe. You could add to this feat how impressive it is that Sanji describes spotting a sniper from the ground 8 meters away and taking him out in an instant as being nothing impressive at all. Now maybe you could chalk it up to Sanji wanting to impress a girl, or maybe he's already or was really being serious about downplaying his actions here, his speed being capable of far more than that even back then. Staying in Dressrosa, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but Dengeki says it seems like Sanji left Viola's side, crossing the distance from one side of the island, the Dressrosa Greenbit distance, in the same chapter with his speed alone, using Skywalk to intercept Doflamingo. Imagine just how fast you'd have to be comparable to the other Straw Hats to cross one side of the island to the next, or at least from the city to the shoreline. Now another thing Dengeki points out, and it comes from Zou, and maybe you consider this a major feat or maybe you don't. But while saving his friends from the grasp of Capone, Sanji also manages to steal a rifle so fast that nobody saw or noticed him do it, all the while temporarily taking Caesar hostage as he held the rifle to Caesar's head. Now that we've gone through all of that, we finally reach or get to the most famous and heavily debated Sanji speed feat, at least up until the present moment with Queen, and that is how Sanji is able to dodge a surprise attack from a Future Sight user on Whole Cake Island. A surprise attack aimed at Sanji's blind spot supposedly as he appeared distracted by Pudding, who is also a woman, and we know Sanji is distracted by women easily, especially women in tears. The manner in which Sanji dodges Katakuri's attack is so fast that Oda drew Sanji's silhouette akin to an after image from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. It's important for those that like to downplay this to recognize Katakuri's reaction, not just our own. Katakuri, the man who trained his observation to see a few seconds or so into the future, predicted Sanji would dodge the bullet of the person or priest presiding over their wedding ceremony. But Katakuri did not predict, despite using Future Sight, how Sanji would also dodge his own jelly bean. How could this be? In fact, the surprise on Katakuri's face and in his voice speaks volumes as to how impressive this speed feat was, with an accompanying 3 exclamation points from Oda. Katakuri is amazed and says, "He dodged it." And from the looks of it, Sanji hardly tried. Against Oven, Sanji shows off his speed again, blitzing one of Big Mom's top fighters in a matter of seconds in the following order of movements. He got out of the cake cart, kicked Oven, recovered from the kick, picked up Chiffon, and flew away. Not only did nobody notice it, but that was seemingly intentional. Sanji himself says he had to jump in and save Chiffon so fast that nobody notices him, which he does effortlessly. And so, as Dengeki mentions, we're no longer talking just about speed, but again, speed that is so fast that it borders on teleportation. Okay, so we made it back to the present, Sanji versus Queen. Early on during their fight on Onigashima, Sanji was able to casually dodge a barrage of laser beams from Queen while thinking about Frankie, who imitated the Pacifista to recreate or incorporate Vegapunk's laser beam technology into himself. With this connection to Vegapunk, we return to Kizaru versus Drake, wherein Drake noticed how the Pacifista were using Kizaru's lasers. Queen's barrage of laser beams being reminiscent of Kizaru's Yazakani no Magatama attack. And so, pre-exoskeleton Sanji, that is, a Sanji prior to his later transformation to the current Sanji we see today, is here against Queen kind of fighting a limited version of Kizaru. Sanji being able to dodge Kizaru's laser attacks, which most likely move at the speed of light. I recognize Luffy did the same against the Pacifist at the beginning of post-time skip, but I digress. Next, as Sanji's fight with Queen really begins to heat up, the destruction of the raid suit is symbolic of the fact that Sanji doesn't need it anymore and so much more. He can disappear on his own, without the devil fruit of his dreams that would offer invisibility or a raid suit that mimicked the power via camouflage. In a later chapter, as Queen mimics Germa science and the power of Stealth Black to turn himself invisible, Sanji smirks and says, "Can you copy that too?" As if to imply Queen can't beat the real thing, and his speed is the real deal. Sanji disappearing once again in the blink of an eye. Queen acknowledges Sanji is just invisible from high-speed movement, moving so fast for an extended amount of time that he is invisible to the human eye. Even a cyborg's eye can't keep up, again, like a Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z character, as some were depicted as fighting at speeds so fast, other experienced fighters couldn't see them. Now I want you guys to understand just how fast Sanji has become and could come to be still. First, back when the raid suit was introduced in the anime, for whatever reason they showed a still unexplained frame, maybe it was a mistake. But it mentions Sanji now being able to move at light speed with the raid suit on. Clearly that wasn't necessarily the case, but is it now? Either way, given how fast Sanji is moving as he disappears, there is further suggestion that he actually speeds up even more when using an enhanced Diable Jambe called Ifrit. Dengeki had pointed out how Diable Jambe's introduction mentioned not just flames, but Sanji's speed increasing even more when using the ability. Likewise, when using Ifrit, a stronger Diable Jambe, or flame technique, either combined with or a product of the activation of his lineage factors being activated. Enhanced strength and speed combining with his exoskeleton and haki as well as Diable Jambe. Sanji can move much faster than he could move even with the raid suit. If Diable Jambe made Sanji faster, Ifrit has as well. Something I also realized is Niji curiously is the one that gave Sanji the raid suit that initiated the lineage factor activation in his body, having said at the time back in Whole Cake Island as they escaped, that Sanji was moving far too slow, which is curious because Niji himself is thought to have originally been the fastest of his brothers, but now because of the gift he left Sanji with, Sanji is now arguably faster than him. I almost forgot about this, but the final point made by Dengeki is how Kizaru had mentioned when fighting Basil Hawkins how speed is weight, before moving and kicking him at light speed. The panel showcasing the aftermath of Sanji defeating Queen depicts this very same phenomena. Speed is weight. Despite his size, Queen is sent flying off the island of Onigashima. And so, given all of this, is Sanji being positioned to become the fastest character in One Piece, or one of the fastest characters, maybe to only rival Kizaru or be second to him? Well, there is another left hand or left wing to consider, the second commander of Luffy's inspiration, red-haired Shanks, Lucky Roo. Lucky Roo's speed is first showcased in Chapter 1 against a bandit that had pointed a gun at Shanks' head. Before the trigger could be fired, Lucky Roo was right there, pulling the trigger on his own pistol. Despite his size and round body, he was able to sneak up on a bandit without being noticed, and post-time skip Lucky Roo's size has only increased, and yet I'm sure his speed has remained for whatever reason the same or increased as well. A speed that remains unexplained, but perhaps we have a hint with this reference to Lucky Roo's name, a character named Lucky Luke, a fictional cowboy or gunfighter from the Lucky Luke Franco-Belgian comic book. Lucky Luke is known as the man who shoots faster than his shadow. Now apparently most people already move faster than their shadow, that's just the natural order of things, even though it's hard to tell. But how much faster is another question entirely. But faster than his own shadow implies he'd be somewhat faster or nearly as fast as the speed of light, maybe considerably faster than his shadow, that is. If Sanji is now on Lucky Roo's level, or maybe faster than him, only Kizaru seems to be beyond that level of speed. And so many are considering if the Straw Hats will fight against the Admirals in the future. Surely Luffy will get another chance to show just how much he's improved. Same with Zoro and Sanji, and there's a One Piece opening that leaves a lot to be hopeful for. We know Luffy has a relationship with Akainu because of Ace. Zoro fought Fujitora briefly on Dressrosa, and maybe there's a deeper relationship there that we don't know about yet. But what about Kizaru and Sanji? Why pair those two together? There's also some lore about Ifrit that you should all know, and thank you to the comment section for everyone, all my subscribers that have been commenting down there, that is from that part of the world or has some relationship to the culture, the history for pointing this out to me. But from Islamic or Arabic mythology, Ifrit is a powerful type of demon often depicted as a fire demon or spirit, known by some as a jinn, if I'm saying that right. Both the heat of Sanji's final kick and his overall speed are inspired from the Ifrit, who in some contexts such as Final Fantasy has a move that is described as Hellfire. Fires or flames hot as hell, reducing your opponent to ash maybe. Rather than just Diable or Devil, Sanji's devil or demon now has a name, Ifrit. And in some myth, names hold immense power over spirits, giving you greater control. The comment section for my video for the chapter that Sanji defeated Queen also let me know that Ifrit is found in an Arabic legend about King Solomon. According to this story, the Jinn Ifrit had promised King Solomon to bring him a throne for another. Ifrit saying, "I can bring the throne in a blink or twinkling of an eye, before the king even has a chance to rise from his seat." This inspiration for Sanji's new ability implying Ifrit Jinns have incredible speed. They can move faster than the blink of an eye. I also like to consider how Luffy and Zoro have learned moves in the past from their opponents, or at least Oda has used prior fights to foreshadow future abilities. Luffy learned his Gear Second by observing Cypherpull's Rokushiki techniques, and Zoro now cutting fire in Wano after observing Kinemon. There are other observations we can mention, but let's not get into that. I mentioned Sanji and Wanze, and what that fight hinted at earlier. If Zoro got advanced armament haki in Conquerors, shouldn't Sanji, who has improved his armament haki as was revealed in the fight with Queen, even if it was off-screened, shouldn't Sanji unlock a new level of observation haki in the future? Especially given his encounter with Katakuri and how his own observation combined with his speed was able to dodge not just a physical attack from Katakuri, but rather a jelly bean bullet empowered by a man that can see the future. If you combine high speeds with future sight and Sanji's unique disposition of haki, observation, or Kenbun Shoku, I really do think the end result is someone that can fight or keep up with Kizaru even, no different than Snake Man Luffy, whose enhanced speed and observation haki was able to go toe-to-toe with Katakuri. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click that notification bell. As always, there is more to come. Until next time, I'll see you all in Valhalla.
参ったね。やられちまったよ。